This podcast is brought to you by Open Door Mission, restoring hope and changing lives. OpenDoorMission.com.
Well, don't look now. It's time for another Wise Home Energy Show right here on the Voice of Liberty, WISL, WLEA.
Pure energy.
And to take us there, none other than the major domo of Wise Home Energy, Jeff Flaherty in the house, and the crowd goes wild.
Woo! All right, Bob. I'm back in the house, just returning from the National Home Performance Conference in Columbus, Ohio.
Nifty, cool.
Yeah. And they rotated around to different cities every year. And this year it was in Columbus. And when I looked down the list of occupants or attendees or presenters, didn't see a lot of New York contractors. There was Halco out of Phelps, New York.
Mm-hmm.
They bring a lot of people and present. And myself, I was there from Wise Home Energy presenting on a few panels, and then didn't really see anybody else from upstate New York. So it always saddens me that people aren't willing to invest in their education and in the career that they've chosen.
So, wonder what that's all about. Where are they?
So in 6 weeks, we're going to be up in Saratoga for a regional conference. So hopefully we'll see lots of contractors up there. But sometimes it's the ones that aren't there that are the ones that are driving homeowners and myself crazy with some of the work they do. But when we were out there, it was funny. I was, we were talking rates, and I said, boy, in New York, the rates have really jumped up. I would say, for example, on average, years ago it was 11 cents for a kilowatt hour, and now it's 17 cents. And, my friend in California is shaking his head saying, yeah, we were once at 11 cents a kilowatt hour, and we're now at 60 cents on the peak hour. So
our delivery here, I'm with you on this. Our delivery went from 7 cents to 17 cents to 19 cents to 23 cents.
Yeah.
And was poised to go to 27 cents in April when we found an ESCO. We signed up with it.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah.
That's going to knock it back down. It's available to RG&E, National Grid, and NYSEG. And I already did NYSEG in Hornell, and it dropped the one bill from $1,761 to $631.
Beautiful. Yeah, you have to be your own best advocate and research this stuff up because
it's craziness.
It is. I'm in a Facebook group, and it's like NYSEG's bills are doubled. It's called something like that, and it's interesting. People will post in with these energy efficiency programs that have been around for decades, and they post, and sometimes the bill is just the kilowatt hours, and it's like, whoa, if you're using that much in a month, you're heating with straight resistance heat, or you have a small hotel. I'm not really sure, if these are residential houses. So it's all relative to how much you use, and sometimes people don't show what they're using or their energy use intensity for how much they're using for their size home. Sometimes we don't get all the pieces and parts. But that's why we always have said energy efficiency is something that will pay and keep on giving once you have that lower usage. We can't control the rates, but with a well thought out scientific plan, we can control how well the home uses energy and how well it loses energy. So those are some of the topics we had this week. Some of the classes, it's funny. There'll be about 6 sessions per time slot. They're usually like an hour and a half. And a lot of times you're torn between picking the session that's right for you. You might have competing sessions, or some I was presenting in, so I couldn't go to the other ones. So that's kind of a challenge. But the one I went to, humidity control for comfort and health. And it's kind of interesting to bring this abstract information to life, is that he had something called accidental dehumidification. And so we talk about dehumidifiers and humidifiers, but in a home, when we see moisture forming on a window in the winter time, or we see moisture, mold-like substance forming on a ceiling in a bathroom, he says, well, this is accidental dehumidification. We didn't plan to do that, but we pulled the moisture out of the air and put it on a surface. And so we always think of the first step is maybe to add a dehumidifier, but what you could do is warm up the surfaces. So there's really the temperature, there's the relative humidity, and then there's the dew point. And sometimes we can get focused on maybe one of those metrics, but we're focused on maybe the wrong one. So we want to look at the dew point. So sometimes it's adding insulation that'll warm up that surface, so then it won't actually condense and cause some of those health issues like mold or building durability type issues. So,
is that typically the walls then, or can it be any surface?
Yeah, it can be any surface. So that's really what happens is heat goes to cold, and wet goes to dry. So it's always moving from a high point to a low point, so it'll find that cold surface. So one of the things is to keep all the surfaces uniformly insulated so that you don't have cold surfaces. And that's what happens in basements a lot. You have less insulation on older homes. We're not heating the area typically. And so you have a little higher moisture content, and that'll kind of create that musty smell because that moisture is finding that cold spot and condensing on there. And so it's costly to go add dehumidification. If you can insulate and bring those temperatures up, maybe you don't necessarily have to dehumidify right away. So it's interesting to bring that kind of abstract idea to real world. I always say it's like pouring that cold glass of iced tea on a summer day, and that condensation forms on that glass, and that's happening throughout our homes based on the conditions. So I always get really excited about the conference. It's hard to be away, but you come back with just some nuggets. You get to meet like-minded people that are on the cutting edge of how to fix houses better, and what's working in the field, and how we can lower energy usage, because it is a topic all across the country. Post-COVID, things have been going up at a feverish pace.
Have noticed that. And by the way, folks, we hasten to jump in here and add that this is how you get expertise, experience, and new ideas. Brought to you by Wise Home Energy, which is the sponsor of the program. And I will shamelessly plug your phone number, which is
585-270-5836.
And as you say, don't be cold in your home. And the summertime, don't be hot and sticky in your home.
Yeah.
Just pick up the phone.
Yeah, pick it up, give a call, give a text. Really, that initial 15-minute consultation is where we want to find out if we're a good fit. We want to find out what your concerns are, what you want to fix. And if we can offer that, then we'll keep moving down the process and scheduling appointments. If we can't, we'll point you in the right direction. Sometimes it's not. The problem that you're calling for isn't within our skill set, or there's somebody better that we can refer you to. So that's something that we want to do right away. Had a call recently for some ice dams. My rep goes out to the home and finds out that they just had their home insulated a year ago. And we looked over the contract. It said they'd air sealed the attic. He went up to the attic, and it wasn't really air sealed. So when that happens, we try to look at how long it's been. So if it's been within a year, we advise them to go back to their rebate program and let them know that they'd like a quality assurance visit. So maybe we can help them remediate that situation, get it fixed up right the first time. So some of those companies we run against on a recurring basis. It's disappointing when I hear their names. Sometimes they're so big that their names have recognition and credibility based on the size of the company. When I see the work, that credibility is not there, and it's disappointing. Another call we had recently, and the guy said we were competing with these two big private equity companies, and it's, oh, well. And so he took my scope, and he said, I want you to change it, and I want you to do it like they're doing it. And I'm thinking, well, they don't have any training. They don't have any skill set. Okay. And I just put in the contract. Here's the price. Here's what we're going to do. I can't guarantee, the outcome of this installation package. Why not? I said, well, it's not my design. It's someone else's design. I can only say we're going to do it as good as we can do.
Eli speaks up.
No, Eli is just like me. I try to sound the warning bells like Eli. That we just want to say, look for these concerns in your home and make sure you're making sure that you're going through a checklist and you know what work is going to be done, what pictures. Because in the guy, he kind of understood it. I said, this isn't my design. You're basing this design off of 2 other contractors that don't really do this work for a living. So all I can say is I will take pictures of my work. I will do the best I can. But this is not my design. Why would I guarantee this design?
Sure.
So, and he said, "Oh, I get it." He said, the option that I was providing, he said it wasn't within his budget. And I said, "All right, as long as we're on the same page, we're gonna do our blower door. We're gonna reduce the air leakage, but it's not the preferred design that I would use." So, those are the type of calls and consultations we try to have with people, so they don't just end up with heartache a year or 2 down the road. And, I was saying, I should get off Facebook for sure. But one of the Facebook groups I'm in is attic insulation. And it's just people will post different things. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? I'm a do-it-yourselfer. What should I do here? And so people, comment professionally. And some people comment, kind of crazy as they do in the internet world. And so this one gentleman had said he had just gone through Empower and they had insulated his walls, and he just read that they were going to rot his house out. We're going to rot his in. I didn't even know where he was. And I said, look, there's a quality assurance program. Here's my website. Give me a call. I'll consult with you. Don't worry about this. This is not a problem. So we've been communicating back and forth via text, and he is very concerned that the work that was done is going to destroy his house, and that's pretty frightening to have that weighing on you. And trying to reassure him that it's fine. If there's any problems, you're on it. You're looking at it. It's more of the person who's not looking at what's going on in their home. So what he was concerned about is he had insulated his walls, and then he must have found some resource that said, if you insulate your walls in an old home, you're going to rot out your home with mold. So, and I said, well, no, let's just slow down. Let's look at the moisture count in the home and see what the relative humidity is. And he had some other concerns, and it was interesting. And you think everybody thinks that way about their own home. We're very concerned, and we're very concerned to not only spend money and waste money, but we don't want to spend money and destroy our home. So hopefully I've talked him into a good place that, hey, he wanted me to come down. I said, I don't think I need to come to your home. He's not in our area. I said, I could probably do this with pictures. We're going to guide you to make good decisions. And the project hadn't been closed out yet. So the project has to be closed out before it can go to a quality assurance visit. And so it was nice because everybody thinks you're trying to sell them something. And I don't, it's nice to be able to just say, hey, here's the proper course of action. You're already going through the program. They'll fix it. The state will make them fix it if there's anything wrong. Let's just take a breath here. But that's the challenge with the internet. There's bad feedback out there on insulation and insulation protocols. And people say that foam will ruin their house. And we've got some calls in the past month or two where homes are foamed, but they're just not performing. And we have to get the blower door out and some diagnostic smoke. And the interesting thing is, like, the work is minimal, but it'll be very costly because it'll be very kind of minutia-driven type work where we got to remove panels and soffits and to get to the little finite points that they should have got the first time.
Time-consuming, labor-intensive.
Yeah, and it really shows you really want to pick a contractor that has some experience and has done jobs like that before. And sometimes we look at them. I was reviewing one when I was out of town. I was reviewing the pictures, and I said, did we tell the client that this foam looks like it was off ratio, which is bad. It could be still off gassing. It has no fire paint on it. That is very important. So what happens is foam can burn when it has fire to it. So closed cell foam is the foam that we tend to spray. And if you put a lighter to it and then you take the lighter away, it'll stop burning. But when it burns, like any synthetic material, it off gases a very bad gas. So then there's open cell. And I could tell by the look of this that this was open cell. That is very flammable because the cells are open, so it can really take off and burn. And so in an attic that you can enter, that has to be fire painted. So we need to let the client know that we may not be touching that work, but it's still appropriate for you to know that whoever sold it to you didn't do it to code and put your family at risk by not having this paint on there. So there's a lot to know in this industry, and making sure that somebody isn't just selling what's on their truck, and so we don't. That's what I was saying earlier about the consultation. We don't just sell what's on our truck. We want to provide a solution for you. We want you to remember us in 5-10 years. If you move or if you tell your friends and family that we solved your problem, so they'll call us and we can do the same for them. We don't just want to install an insulation product or a heating system for the sake of installing it.
And you notice something here, folks. You notice the individual approach. There's no cookie cutter stuff. There's no, you just need a bigger furnace, or you just need to spray some foam up here, or you need the pink stuff, or whatever it is. It really is a process, isn't it, Jeff?
It is, and it's tried and true. That blower door test, we want to measure that air leakage in the home. And that blower door frame, we've talked about it before. It's part of the NYSERDA no-cost assessment. That's an assessment that everybody's paid for on their utility bills, so you might as well take advantage of it. And it doesn't mean that much, maybe how much air is leaking out of a home, but I guess if you think of it in terms of a boat or a gallon of milk you bought from the store, if it was leaking at an unreasonable rate, you wouldn't take that boat out, or that gallon of milk wouldn't get home to your fridge with any milk left in it. So the leakage is such a critical part of the assessment. And then the insulation levels, that's the envelope. Really, we're looking at how the home retains heat in the wintertime and how it wards off heat in the summertime in this climate zone. And we had a person recently send me over he was from Buffalo, and he said, "Hey, can you do this job for me?" It was through a grant program. And he said, "I don't have anybody to get a plumbing permit in Rochester." So he sent it over the work scope, and I said, "Well, why don't you just use a plumber I can refer you to?" And in the meantime, he'd sent over the work scope, and it was just basement work and this hot water tank he wanted to install. And the pictures showed the roof deck in the wintertime, and the snow completely evenly melted on the lower section of the roofs where there was blind knee walls. and this contractor's been in the program for 20 years, and so sometimes you just don't know their knowledge set. And I emailed back, I'm like, did you try to diagnose the knee walls? Because there's no snow on these roofs. You can really help this person out by insulating their attics. And it was ironic because it was right around the corner from our office. And I forgot what he said. I mean, I don't like to tell people how to do their business. They might not want to, do it differently than they're doing it. But I saw it and I thought, wow, this guy's probably got ice hanging off his roof every single winter. And here's a guy standing there with some test tools, and he could fix it, but he maybe just doesn't have the knowledge of how to prioritize, that. It's kind of like getting in your car. You could turn up the radio or you could put your seatbelt on. You probably want to put your seatbelt on if you only got one option. So, but I like the radio too. Or I like to do both.
Yeah, I like the old joke. If you're not going to wear a seatbelt, turn up the radio so you won't hear the crash. But it's so I assume this got resolved. In this case,
I don't know if it did get resolved because he kind of came back and said, well, yeah, we sort of looked at it and it just made me want to say, well, why don't you give the job to me and let me go do it right, or maybe in a year I can re-enroll this person, because it just made me think of, are people prioritizing the right thing? It's I sort of say it's like a car accident, right? I mean, you come up and someone's got a broken bone or a little cut on their elbow. You probably have to go address the broken bone first. You have to prioritize the biggest need in home performance, in energy efficiency. The biggest need is at the top of the home. You want to make sure that's done well. Then you can start moving toward the other things. And truly, aside from that, it's health and safety first before you go to the top of the home. So you want to make sure there's no carbon monoxide leaks in the home or mold and moisture issues first. And
or
then
open cell foam. You don't want
exactly.
that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. We had another job that we went to recently where the lady had called for the assessment. We send out a prep guide to prepare for the assessment, to tell them not to burn wood because we can't do a blower door test. When we got there, they had forgot that, so they had their wood burning stove burning. We cannot wait around for it. It's a long time to cool down, so we go about our process. Now we have no data, and the husband was a little bit at odds with the energy audit. I don't know why you're here. I already insulated all this. I insulated the attic, which I think we didn't have access to. I insulated the crawl space underneath, and they had foamed it. And he said he had done it a long time ago, like maybe 20 years ago. So I'm looking at the pictures. We store all our pictures on a software so we can review them, and I'm looking at the pictures, and the husband was saying, what's the point? Why are you here? But the wife was cold and uncomfortable. And so as I look it over, the wife has kind of started communicating with me and saying, well, why didn't, there's air coming in at the base of the sliding glass doors and this window over here. And a lot of what we do is not, that's kind of like being at the dam, plugging the holes. That's just that's a willy-nilly trying to plug the holes where we might have to reduce the water first and do more of a comprehensive plan. It's hard for us to. A lot of times people will say, why don't you weather strip the door? And we look at it and we're like, well, that's a modern steel insulated door that someone sprung. It's not level. It's not closing the door anymore. Like the weather strip's going to look like garbage. They're sort of not meant to be re-weather stripped. So it's hard to go through some of that stuff. So this gentleman had foamed underneath his crawl space, the ceiling, but all the ductwork is underneath the foam. So the ducts leak, and they leak a lot. And so that is where we get into defining the thermal boundary. He had done a decent job on what he had insulated, but I sort of understand why they're uncomfortable. And it's explaining this stuff. So they have a tankless hot water heater. And so you're going to have two pipes. One's supposed to go outside to bring in combustion air, burns in a box, and then exhaust out. It's a closed system where the air from outside comes in, burns, and goes out. Well, if you don't have a lot of times lazy people don't read the manual, whatever the case is, they don't pipe the intake pipe outside. So as you're exhausting air out of your home does not shrink. I mean, we all want to call our tax assessor and say, hey, I turned on my furnace. The home shrunk.
Honey, I shrunk the house.
Yeah, I get to pay less taxes. It doesn't happen like that. When you pull air out of the house, guess what happens? New air comes in. And it comes in from wherever it wants to come in from, but it comes in from outside, unfiltered, and unconditioned. So as the hot water tank burns, new air comes in. And she said, why are you recommending venting this intake pipe outside? What does this have to do? This is my basement. And it's hard to explain that, well, you're just pulling in new air every time. Now, I don't know how often a tankless water heater is on in this home, but every time it's on, it's...
Every time you use hot water, isn't it? I mean, is that the design?
The same thing goes with natural draft hot water tanks, 80% furnaces. That's the same thing. When they burn air, and it's not a sealed combustion, properly vented unit, it just pulls in air from outside. So that'll be an interesting one. And normally we have on our forum, we're gonna charge you to come back and do the blower door. So we'll have to see if they. I'm kind of curious on that particular project. But having your goals down of what you want to fix allows us to really have razor focus and come into the home and properly diagnose it and provide an option to resolve that situation if that's what you want to do. So the grants and rebates are alive and well. We have something for everybody. There's a low income program. There's a moderate income program. And then there's a no-cost assessment for everybody and rebates to make upgrades like insulation or heat pumps. And I think I don't know if we're going to see the costs go down. If I were a betting man, the costs keep going up. So if you do it now, you're going to save the next 10, 20 years on your energy bills. So and especially if you want to solve a problem. If this is your home and this is where you're going to stay for the next 5 or 10 years, we can make that comfortable, healthy, efficient at a reasonable price, and you'll know it's done. And that'll make it easier to sell when you do go to sell. So give us a call. It's 585-270-5836. You can call or text. You can go to the website. It's wisehomeenergy.com. We like fixing homes. It's sort of, not that fun to go out to homes that people don't really have anything to fix. And they say, I just want to kick the tires. So townhomes, those are interesting ones. I've got some regional townhome owners that call, and they don't realize that this stuff can be fixed. Even though you have to have the HOA approve things outside, we can get up in that attic. We can do things and appropriately improve that home and make it perform much better.
That voice of Jeff Flaherty and more histories from the tattered casebook of Wise Home Energy, right?
Yeah.
The Super Energy Sleuth paid program here at Wise Home Energy. Give them the phone number one more time, Jeff.
585-270-5836.
Very good, and we'll see you next time on the Wise Home Energy Show, WYSL, WLEA.
I can see